Hey everyone. So I am super excited today because I was looking at all of my resources, right? So, I am one of those people that I value education. I just do. I love learning. I've always loved learning. I never cared that people considered me a nerd. Um, and from an early age, I always loved God, right? And I loved learning about God and developing relationships with God. And of course, that ebbs and flows because of life and youth and, choosing self, right? You don't understand everything. But I have valued my education. And that is really how I came to faith, is through learning, is through the Socratic method, is through asking questions after question and reading book after book. This final layer of faith for me is about being vulnerable and committing emotionally so that spirituality can really come and bear fruit, right? But I did want to share some of my favorite things. My favorite books, if you're interested in reading about things and learning, and I'm just going to flip this. As you can see, I have Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. I mean, this will help you navigate the verbiage of the Bible. You can look at words meaning, things like that. I highly recommend it. And then I've got a couple of different Bible maps and charts that are really helpful. I have my Chronological Study Bible. I have my Tim LaHaye Prophecy Study Bible and Systematic Theology, which is, you want to understand doctrine and the different doctrines of the different denominations. This is an invaluable book to have. Now, it was recommended that I pick up Haley's Bible Handbook. This has been, a lifesaver. I love it. It gives you lots of brief synopses over the different readings of the Bible. He does use the New International Version. And then I have these. So I love prophecy, and I love Tim LaHaye and oh my gosh, what is his name? Ed Hinson. I actually took a class before Mr. Hinson passed away. He taught, and it was magnificent. But then I also have The Sign by Van Kampen, which talks about a different view of end times prophecy, and I highly recommend both. The Sign is intense. Christianity and the Constitution, Political and Moral Philosophy, and the Universe Next Door. 100%. 100% you should get them, and you should read what's in them. Why? Because they will help you develop your worldview. So this book in particular, Haley's falling down on me. The Universe Next Door by James Sire. This breaks down worldview in a way that I've never actually seen before. Sorry for that. That's for my son, actually. He was using a paper towel as a, I'm trying to get to the table of contents. This one, breaks it down, right? The different kinds of worldviews, where they come from, and how they compare with the Christian worldview. And, to forewarn you, this is written by a Christian. It is written in favor of the Christian worldview. But it gives such a fair and honest breakdown of these other worldviews: naturalism, existentialism, nihilism, deism, monism, New Age, postmodernism, Islamic theism, and it is so important. And then it ends with the examined life. We are called to examine our worldview, to be able to know what that worldview is and to defend it. This is an excellent book for any Christian who wants to understand the different worldviews and how their worldview compares to not just the Christian worldview, but to others. Then there's this, which, this, other than the Bible, is like one of the loves of my life. This book will give you, Plato, an appreciation and an understanding for some of the most amazing and incredible philosophers and their writings. It gives you, so they include, some of them are their entire writings, which is nice, but they're important excerpts. So you can always go ahead and buy or find on Kindle even, the full versions. There's Hegel. I mean, this is one of the most you need to understand, right? I'm a big proponent in understanding what do we think? Why do we think it? Where do these thoughts come from, right? Like why, for example, in the United States, why the Western Christianity did it take off? Well, you find a lot of this out in books like this, and it is such a great, it just is so great. I love it. This one, For Americans by John Eidsmoe, is imperative. If you are an American Christian, you want to understand and be able to defend what Christianity and the Constitution have in common. You want to understand because there is a lot of wrong information out there, okay, about the founders and what Christianity's place in. We are a Christian nation, and it is our system was not built to function under anything other than Christian principles, right? A just nation needs a moral foundation. Islam is completely incompatible. And that is just one example of another worldview that goes against just our Western principles. And reading a book like this and these philosophers helps you understand the moral philosophies behind why the United States is what it is today. Okay. So if I had to choose one of these books to start with, like if you're really just not sure and you are interested in the moral philosophies, I would start with The Universe Next Door, but I would definitely invest in political and moral philosophy, the classics. And if you do go that route, please let me know. And I love this. I will never get rid of this book. I will never get rid of this book either. But, and of course, I have my MacArthur Study Bible, and I have my ESV Bible. So I have a bunch of different Bibles up here. But these are the two I love. I love their the study Bible aspect to them, and I use them for all of the readings that I post here. So I'm super excited to share these things with you. I love these books, and I'm so grateful that God kind of led me throughout the years to these texts because he knew how to reach me. And this is how he reached me, right? He reached me this way. I am an emotional person, and because I'm an emotional person and because I'm also a rational person and I see how emotions lead not just myself astray, but everyone else, and we lose our ability to reason, I didn't want an emotional religion. I don't like to go to church and wave my hands in the air and cry, and then that's my connection with God for the week. That, not saying it's not sincere for everyone, but it's not for me. And it is temporary. It doesn't connect. And I love worship music just like anyone else does, right? I love my hymns. I'm not a big fan of contemporary worship music, but that's irrelevant. My point is I want to feel something when I go to church, but I don't want that to be the core. That I didn't want that to, and it was worked for and against me because the longer I pushed that emotional connection, because I wanted to be rational above all else. My faith needed to be grounded in reason, in fact. I needed that. And as a result, though, I just kept reading more and more and more. I don't want you to fall into that trap, but I do understand the need for some of us to transcend our emotional foundation because it does lead us down some crazy paths. Our faith cannot be based entirely on our emotions. It needs to be grounded. We need to understand it intellectually. God gave us brains for that reason, right? And he gave us a heart for a reason. And we have a soul so that we can connect all three in this fleshly body to God the Father so that the Holy Spirit can live in us. And when we die, we can spend eternity with him. But if you are like me and you are resistant to those emotions, and being caught up in an emotional religion, because it can, when we read about, the seeds, where the seeds are the sower sows the seeds, but it's on rocky ground and they quick grow up, right? You get these sprouts. And that's what it is. You get really excited and you're crying at the service, and you may even go up for a call, and you get saved and you're caught up in the moment, and then you kind of leave, and after like a few hours and a few days, you're kind of dead, right? Or maybe you're in it for like a few weeks or a few months, and then slowly you just kind of go back to your old ways. That's where, for someone like me, and if you are anything like me, you kind of need that foundation and something you can touch. It's not about not having faith, because I had full belief. But the last part is going to require that emotional connection and the leap of faith. I'm just putting that out there. But if you are on this path and you would like to have a more academic understanding of the faith and the moral philosophy behind it, what our worldview is, if you want to understand prophecy, but you want to understand it again from a couple different perspectives, these are the resources that you use. If you want to understand doctrine, because we have become a sectarian religion, and unfortunately, as a result, we are failing, right? As a religion. And so these are things that we can understand at least, right? Because our unity comes from Jesus. That is our identity. All the rest of it is just really cool things to understand and learn. It's not to fight about. It's not to hate each other over. But if we can understand, I think we can separate ourselves from the emotionalism that we see in the infighting, and what happens is our doctrinal beliefs become our religion, right? Instead of our identity in Christ. So when you can take this academic pursuit and apply your faith, and you can blend your emotional attachment to Christ with an intellectual understanding, a philosophical foundation, I think it really can enhance our experience as Christians and how we learn and how we relate to one another. So if you're interested in learning about any of these books, I can talk about worldview until the cows come home. I love political and moral philosophy. I love that, our Western traditions are very different because of this, right? We were created in the United States, this government, which has failed us, in many ways, for many reasons, but we understand why it's failing, and we understand why we're struggling when we understand these philosophies and why we were created to be the country we were created for, right? So I think that it's important, and I figured I would just, since I have all of these out, I'm trying to figure out how I want to, because I love having them at my fingertips, because obviously I don't dive into all of this. I'm not reading Hobbes, and I'm not reading, Kant and all the time. But I love having them when I need to reference them, especially when I'm tying together in a defense of certain things biblically and secularly. Like, it's important. It's so important. And again, that's a video for another time. But if you're interested ever in talking about any of these things, or you want to buy one of these books and you need help finding them, I can help you. But those are my favorite things that I have. And this doesn't even touch the books I have and the resources for my coaching and counseling, Christian marriages and relationships and parenting, and just counseling in general. Those are a whole separate. I have to organize them better. But anyway, I thought I would share this with you, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Bye.